Okay. Since we've got this new system, it's been nothing but problems, so I do apologise for the delay in getting all this sorted. It's just ridiculous. Okay, does people have assessment 2 open? You have assessment 2 open? Good. Okay, let's go through the questions. Just trying to get it to share, but in the meantime, I'm just going to start looking at the questions while it's thinking and doing its stuff. Okay, so this is quite a small assessment compared to others. Last week we went through assessment 1, went through all of the questions. How many questions did we have? We had about 26 maybe? Is that the right unit? Anyone know how many questions we've got in assessment 1? 13.
13 for this year.
13 for that unit. Okay, all right. Now it's going to happen. Okay. Okay, this one's quite a small one. Now, this one's a little bit different because it's based on a case study. So it gives you a scenario, and then you have to answer the questions based on that scenario. So what you're actually doing now is applying your theory to practice. Okay, here we go. Now, I've done the same as what I did last week, is I've highlighted in green and yellow. The yellow bit is what you have to do, the green bit is what you have to talk to about. So, the scenario, you are a volunteer working at the local community centre. The centre wishes to organise a public meeting in 2 weeks' time on Saturday at 10 a.m. and plan for the community development strategies. The aim of the meeting is to discuss and promote recent issues, concerns and support available for residents in the local area. The centre management has asked you to organise this meeting to plan for community development. Who was in class when we did the activity where we had to plan for a community meeting or a community forum? We looked at resources, we looked at other stuff. Anyone remember that class?
Yes.
Okay, so what we identified was if we are going to plan any form of public meeting, there's a lot of things we have to do. Because we looked at promotion, we looked at resources, and we looked at just kind of one of the big ones. But we did identify that if we are planning a public meeting, there's a lot of things to do. So the first question, question 1, explain. Explain means describe. Okay, you have to tell me, explain it to me. How you would plan and implement this community meeting. Now, these assessments don't have word counts, so you're kind of operating in the dark there. But I would expect you to go to your slides, and when we talked about planning community meetings or community forums, we listed the things that needed to be done. Okay, so you need to tell me how you're going to plan and prepare for the meeting. So keep in mind what are all of those things you have to consider. Venues, catering, information and technology, access, promotion, guest speakers, agenda, information packages. The list can go on. Okay, it doesn't, actually as I said, it doesn't ask for a word count, but a question like that, I would probably want at least 5 lines. Okay? On average, there's 10 words in a line, a paragraph is 5 lines. So I would want at least a paragraph, if not a bit more. It's a big question, and it doesn't give you any guidance as far as word counts go. Okay, question 2. List 3 examples. That's what you have to do. So I expect to see 1, 2, 3. Okay? Don't have to write extra stuff. I just want you to answer the question. Okay? It's not about writing a thesis. Just because you give me lots of words doesn't mean you understand it. Okay? Sometimes it's harder to actually condense and make your answer smaller. Because you've got to get the key points. Okay, so 3 things, 3 examples of concerns or issues that individuals and groups might raise at this meeting. It doesn't actually tell you what the meeting is about, but what are some of the issues people might raise at a meeting.
What they have to do well, what they have to work on.
What they have to actions. Yeah, what are the next action items? Good. What else might they raise? We're going to a public meeting.
Cost of living issue.
Pardon?
Cost of living issue.
Cost of living, yes. Classic example, we just watched that. Okay, and that we do eat retails, by the way. My husband was Aboriginal and I used to have a freezer full of kangaroo tails and we often ate them. Really nice in a stew. Really nice broth. It's not something that we do every day. Okay, question 3. Select one of the issues above, and you gave the example there of the cost of living, and explain in detail. Select one, explain in detail how the community centre and its staff can support the community member or group advocating or lobbying for this issue. Okay, so we've used that example that was just given about the cost of living. Okay, so that might be one of the issues. We have to explain how we could advocate or lobby for that. What could we do? Cost of living issues. How could we lobby or advocate for that?
Ask the government to reduce, as in make,
So you're
give
gonna,
us benefits.
Yes, excellent. So you're going to take some political action.
Yeah.
You're going to enable that. Excellent. Okay, so you're going to challenge. We've got a great big report happening at the moment about the prices in supermarkets. We have a monopoly, we have Coles, and we have Woolworths primarily. And they're making billions of dollars worth of profit, and people can't afford to eat. So they're under scrutiny. So one of the actions is that political lobbying, challenging, asking them, why are they charging so much? Good example, well done. Okay, anyone else give me an issue? And perhaps a way we could advocate for it. About drug and alcohol awareness. Okay, suddenly we've got an increase of cocaine. Okay, cocaine is a very expensive drug in Australia. The majority of people who use cocaine are professionals. Who earn money. So the young ones can afford it.
1 gram per 100
Exactly. You should know that. All right. Okay. So, we've got increased cocaine use. How can we advocate and lobby for that to be reduced? Who might we lobby? We've got an influx of cocaine users in our little community. Pardon? The drug dealer. What are we going to do with the drug dealer? We're going to advocate for him to lower his prices.
Not the drug dealer, maybe the police.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so yes. All right. My neighbour is dealing drugs. I see. No, this isn't true. I see people come and go all day, all night. I'm sure they're selling drugs.
The council member.
Yeah, so I could take that to the police. I could advocate that they investigate. I could go to local politicians and ask for more rehabilitation services or detoxification centres.
And harsher punishment for the drug dealers.
Corporate punishment.
Harsher punishment.
Harsher punishment. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good point. You have to then look at our legal system and what are the penalties for drug dealing. Good. Okay, so you select one issue and explain in detail that says, so I want a paragraph there, 5 lines, of what you're going to do, how you're going to advocate or lobby. Okay, question 4. Based on the issues or concerns raised in question 2, okay, so we identified some of the issues, list 2 community development strategies. Implement to support the issues. Okay, community development strategies. I want 2. Strategy 1, strategy 2. This is a 2-part question. That's why I've got lots of highlights. That's the first part. List 2 community development strategies to support the issue. And then the second part of the question. Just be careful, it's a 2-part question. For questions that have 2 or 3 parts, not well written. Okay, you shouldn't have questions like that, but we do. Give reasons of why we've chosen those strategies. So we're talking about cocaine use, okay? We're talking about drugs and alcohol. One of the community development strategies we can support is to raise the awareness of the consequences of using cocaine on a regular basis. If they're snorting it, they're going to have problems with their nasal passage and respiratory system. If they're injecting it, they're exposing themselves to all sorts of drug harms and disease. Okay, so list 2 community development strategies to support the issues and tell me why you've chosen. And that's the hard part. That's the thinking part. I'm sure you can all identify community strategies. You have to do those, tell me why you've picked them. That's where the logic comes in. Okay. Question 5. There you go. 6 questions in this assessment.
That's it.
That's
easy.
compared to the 54 questions in case management, which this is a short one, okay? So you guys should be able to knock this over really quickly. Okay, question 5.
No textbook.
How would you, it's asking the question how. How would you regularly engage the community in community development strategies? The question there is about how are you going to engage people? How are you going to engage people? How are you going to get them involved?
Community activities.
Food's good, especially young ones.
Activities, inviting
Social
people.
activity.
Invite them activities, things that they're interested in.
What's the big workshop for one?
Workshops. Yeah. You can have an information workshop. You could have a guest speaker. You could have a public meeting. Okay, so you guys can tell me, and this is kind of part of assessment 3 as well. There's actually a whole slide around how are you going to get people to participate. Same type of thing. How are you going to engage the community in reviewing the community development strategies? That's a little bit different. Not only are we going to engage them, but we want them to be engaged in reviewing what we've been doing. The obvious one there, and we've just done it, is feedback. We're going to ask them. Okay, and then there's a second part. See, there's a 2-part question there.
Yeah.
How would you support the community to reflect on group practices and process? So think about client group. How are you going to get them engaged? How are you going to get them to reflect on what we've done? And we talk about reflection all the time in ourselves, how important it is for us, critical reflection. We've also got to get our group members to reflect. How might we get them to reflect on group practices and processes? Pardon? Providing feedback, yeah. How can we get them to provide feedback? What avenues can we get feedback from them in? How are we going to get feedback from clients? 50 million ways. Surveys, yes. How else? Surveys, yeah.
Feedback form.
A feedback form, good, yes. What else can we do?
Ask question.
Ask them, yay! Ask a question. Ask the questions. Yeah. We don't have to overthink it. We sometimes, well, I know I try and overcomplicate things, but yeah, the simple thing is let's ask them. We ask them, we'll get an answer. Okay, and then the final question, question 6. Describe how you would reflect on your own practices. Now, we haven't quite got to that yet. We cover that next week in our learning content, okay? But how would you reflect on your own practices?
Policy and standard.
Pardon?
Policy and standard.
Sorry, I got the music.
To follow organizational policy.
Excellent. Okay, so one way we will just reflect on our practice is, did we do what our policies and procedures say? That's a really important thing. If we're not doing what our policies and procedures say, there's a problem. And we're probably not meeting our duty of care and putting ourselves at risk and others. So yes, organisation, policies and procedures. Okay, 6 questions. This is due in week 7. Okay, next week is our last theory week for this unit, and we're going to finish the learning content and then spend a little bit more time preparing for our presentation in week 9. Okay? Any comments before we wrap up? Okay, it's 12:01. Perfect timing. Let's go and have lunch. Okay? We've gone through assessment 1, we've been through assessment 2, and we're working through assessment 3.